Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, December 10th. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Craig Bund of TSN will be one of my guests, as will Simon the Snake Boisvert, and he'll join me as well a little bit later on in the podcast. The Montreal Canadiens had an 11 a.m. practice earlier this morning, and of course, the Canadiens still with that 6-1 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning on their minds. There were some lineup changes earlier today at practice, and also newly recalled Jacob Fowler, Adam Engstrom, and Owen Beck were practicing with the Montreal Canadiens today, as the Canadiens will depart today and make their way over to Pittsburgh, where they visit the Penguins tomorrow night and then visit the New York Rangers on Saturday night. And then we'll come back to Montreal when they're going to host the Edmonton Oilers on Sunday night. So it's going to be 3 games and 4 nights with some travel included for the Montreal Canadiens from Montreal to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to New York, and then from New York back to Montreal once again to take on the Oilers. There's a lot to talk about. Marty St. was asked about the youth of his team. What did he have to say about that? What did he have to say about the goaltending? What did he have to say about the play of his team in front of the goalies? You're going to have to stay with us to find out. This is going to be a good one tonight on the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Back in a couple.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro,
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. Everyone in Montreal is still talking about the Montreal Canadiens won to the Tampa Bay Lightning in what was a 4-point game. That's right, 6-1. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also brought to you in part by Playground. It's hockey night at Playground, as if watching hockey wasn't thrilling enough. Now every goal means more action on the felt before the puck drops. Every poker table is randomly assigned a player from Montreal, and when your player scores, boom, Playground splashes the next pot with up to $200 in chips. Catch every game on Playground's big screens all around the room, so you'll never miss a goal, a play, or a splash pot. So get your game face on and head to Playground for hockey nights, where the goals, the games, and the action all come together. Also brought to you in part by Bittt, Tibi. They launched their new ultra lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those chilly winter days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 to 12. In grocery stores all around the province of Quebec, ultra light and ultra refreshing. Who do you have tomorrow night between the Canadiens and the Pittsburgh Penguins? Go all the way with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Without further ado, it's time for Craig Button.
Craig Button, presented by Souvlaki Authentique. Bring the taste of Greece home.
Montreal knows good food, but nothing hits like Souvlaki Authentique. Every stick of Souvlaki is marinated fresh. Every pita is packed with flavor, and the potatoes twice fried and finished with that signature lemon sauce. Comfort food, Greek style, family run, flavor packed. Proud to serve Montreal. Go to Souvlaki Authentique to find your nearest location and bring the taste of Greece home. In all transparency, this podcast was recorded a little earlier. It's a travel afternoon for Craig Button and then a work night for Craig Button. He's at the airport in Toronto as we speak. This is what we call dedication, folks. Craig says, I'll do it, but I'm going to be at the airport. Craig, let's do it. He's live at the airport. Craig Button, how are you?
Yeah, weather hits the east. So, the weather doesn't adjust to us. We have to adjust to the weather. And Mother Nature remains undefeated and always will be undefeated.
Yeah, I hear you. Speaking of travel, I have to tell you, yesterday I breathed a big sigh of relief because of course, Transat avoided a strike, and I'm going to be traveling with Transat during the holidays, and I'm looking forward to my vacation, I got to tell you. So I'm glad it all worked out for everyone. So isn't that good news? Okay. That was a 4-point game last night, and the Canadiens were never in it. It started bad. It ended bad. They gave up 3 goals in period number 1. Jacob Dobish was replaced to start the second period by Samuel Montembeault, who gave up a goal on the first shot that he faced. He ended up giving up 3 goals himself. Craig, there's a lot to dislike with that Canadiens loss. I mean, losing is one thing. It's the way you lose that matters even more. That's not the way you want to lose.
No, I mean, and if we rewind a little bit, Tony, why don't we go and talk about the loss to the Washington Capitals, the loss to the Dallas Stars, the loss to the Colorado Avalanche, and then that loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So as you go through the league and you're talking about, I just named 4 teams that are really, really good. Montreal couldn't come even close, not even close. So we know that the goaltending has been really, really poor. And there's no glossing over that. We can talk about, why do they get scored on early? It's not just goaltending, but a majority of it is goaltending. So the Montreal Canadiens are getting a real understanding of where they're at and how far away they are from the top teams. And the game Tuesday night was just another reminder that Montreal is still and very much in the growing phase of their team. And certainly injuries don't help. We know that. That goes without saying. But, again, it's being exposed. And sometimes when your weaknesses are exposed by the top teams, it shows everybody how glaring they are and how much work is ahead.
Okay, so you know what? I'm going to take it a step further. You talked about some of those losses, all right? This is something that I tweeted last night. The Canadiens have played 29 games. They have 15 wins and 14 losses. In 10 of those 14 losses, Craig Button, they've given up 4 goals 4 times. They've given up 5 goals 3 times. They've given up 7 goals twice. They've given up 6 goals twice. And they've given up 8 goals once. Once again, it's all in the way that you lose. Clearly, they have a goaltending problem. Dolbesh was very good for the month of October. Mm-hmm. He's been not very good in November and December. Montembeault has struggled all 3 months. And their defensive play and their defense is really not up to point and not up to par at all. Craig, that's a lot of goals. Like, you don't go far losing games, giving up 4, 5, 7, 6, and 8 goals as often as the Canadiens have. You don't.
No, not only do you don't, you can't. It's just nobody's going to say, okay, here's the game plan. We're going to have to score 5 because we're comfortable giving up 4. It just doesn't happen. It's never going to happen. So when I talk about the goaltending, which is right at the bottom of the league, that's a fact. When we talk about defensive play, and we know that defensive play has to be improved, but you can have everything in order. You can have everything going right. But when your goaltending is that level of poor, like, it doesn't matter how much else you got going. So you only lose 4-1, you only lose 3-1, you only lose 5-2. Like, and that's why Jacob Fowler is called up, because that is the immediate solution right now. Yeah, people can go and look and trade, but for the Montreal Canadiens, they got to get on and play on Thursday night versus Pittsburgh. That's a tough game. They're going to have a tough game versus Edmonton. They're going to have a tough game in New York. So when you start to put this all together, and Jacob Fowler is a really good prospect, we're going to find out if he's ready. But the Montreal Canadiens, this is their only option right now. Marty St. Louis has been incredibly patient with Samuel Montembeault with his goaltending. He's protected Samuel Montembeault all the time. At some point in time, it's over. And when I say it's over, there's no more patience. It's either you do it or you're not going to get a chance. And Samuel Montembeault has been terrible this year. There's no other way to put it. And Jacob Dolbesh in November and to this point in December, yeah, there's been the odd game when he's been good. He's been terrible. So when you're sitting going into the game wondering, coaches are wondering, okay, what kind of goaltender are we going to get? The players are sitting there go, oh, just make the save. Oh, just come on, just make a save. Like, it puts everybody back on their heels, Tony. And it gives the other team a tremendous confidence. I mean, Braden Point has had an injury cross season, hasn't scored as much, pressing. Can you imagine him coming in on Jacob Dolbesh last night? I mean, other than there being an empty net, there couldn't have been a better opportunity for Braden Point to break his slump. He's hugging the post, his heels are on the goal line, and Braden Point's going, really? Okay, I'll get out of my slump right here.
Yeah, and prior to him getting there, he went around Jaden Struble like he wasn't even there. Pierre Maguire was really disappointed that Jaden Struble was trying to defend with 2 hands on the stick. He didn't quite understand that one at all. But I'll get back to the goalies in a second. But let
me just say one thing.
Sure.
Jordan Struble versus Braden Point, it's a mismatch every time. So we're going to blame Jaden Struble. This is another problem that the Montreal Canadiens have. And again, we'll get into it a little bit deeper, and I'll give you a chance. But when you look at the Montreal Canadiens, injuries have had a big impact on their team.
Yes.
So now players are scaled up the lineup. Jake Evans is a 4th-line center. He's not a 3rd-line center. I have no issues with the top 2 lines for the Montreal Canadiens. But forward 7 to 12, there's massive holes in that area. And that creates big problems too with your defensive play, because we're talking about extended beyond your capabilities, struggling. Same thing on the blue line. Caden Gooley. I mean, that's a huge loss. And
It is.
certainly Jaden Strubal's played good, but like there's no coach that's going, yeah, we're going to have Jaden Strubel match up against Braden Point tonight. No coach in the planet's going to say that.
And by the way, like you said, it's circumstances. If Caden Gooley isn't hurt, Caden Gooley is Lane Hudson's defense partner, and it's a much better matchup for the Canadiens. And because
Absolutely.
he's hurt, it's Jaden Strubel, and he's in a tough spot. Now, I'll get back to the goalies in just a minute here, but last year, the Canadiens lost games. Second game of this, I keep on bringing it up, but it strikes me. Second game of the season, they gave up 6 in Boston. Fourth game of the season, they played at home versus Pittsburgh. They gave up 6. A couple of weeks later, they played at home on a Tuesday night versus the Rangers. They gave up 7. The week after, they played at home versus Seattle. They gave up 8. On Halloween night, they played in Washington. They gave up 6. About a month and a half after that, they played in Montreal versus Pittsburgh. They gave up 9. They were terrible, terrible losses. And I was one who said right here on the podcast, I said something to the effect of, I like Marty St. Louis. I was very much in favor of the Montreal Canadiens hiring him. I thought he would be the right man for the job, considering the circumstances. That was a rebuild. In the meantime, you would get exciting hockey. He comes in with his offensive concepts. He can help a lot of young players. He can grow with the team. He can develop with the team and all that stuff. And, you know, you're not supposed to develop in the National Hockey League, but at the same time, if you're telling everyone it's a full-fledged rebuild, it's going to take at least 4 years. Why not? Let's see what happens. I like the way he communicates. You know what? I've never bet against him in his career. He's always proved people wrong. He will find out the solution and all that stuff. But I said, offensively speaking, I know that he can do a lot to help this team. Defensively speaking, I think he needs to add an experienced defensive tactician to his staff. I said that to the Canadiens' credit. The rest of the season, and maybe in the playoffs, they could have used that defensive tactician, but they were able to turn it around for the rest of the regular season in the last 3 months of the regular season. But now here we are in the first 30 games of the regular season. And again, I find myself saying the exact same thing. So my question to you is, keeping in mind that once again, even though Marty St. Louis is the 5th most senior coach with the same team in the last 4 years, but his experience prior to that was coaching his son's team. Stéphane Robida, who coaches the defense, he coached a midget team. He's been the assistant coach for the last 4 years. Trevor Letowski was a head coach in the OHL with Sarnia and Windsor for about 5 years as a head coach. And it's his first NHL gig, I think, you know, as an assistant coach as well. My question to you is the same question I had last year. Do you think there's a lack of experience or very much a need for a defensive tactician to complement Marty St. Louis and to help him?
Yeah, and I think if I rewind to last year, I paraphrasing my best recollection is that I said, coach's job is to find solutions to whatever your problems may be. Your power play struggling, find a solution for it. Your zone exits are struggling, find a solution. Your defensive play is poor, find a solution. Do I think that Marty St. Louis, Stéphane Robida, Trevor Letowski, do I think that they're capable of finding answers? Yeah, I do. And I think they've shown signs last year that they can find the answers to it. I think they're up against it a little bit. And again, if you don't have players in the right chairs, now you're extending them. The Montreal Canadiens, and I think when I mentioned at the outset about the 4 losses to those top teams in the NHL, including last night, Tuesday night versus Tampa Bay, it really shows you how much more work they have to do in the personnel department. So do you want to be better defensively? Absolutely. Is Marty St. Louis a person that's going to always be looking for answers? Yes. That's what that's his DNA. He's always going to be looking at it. We can debate, okay, is there somebody out there that could do it? Could it help him? Marty's always looking to be the best he can be. And he's not hesitant to surround himself with anybody. But if that's the path he thinks he's going to take, when your personnel isn't good enough, Tony, and the Montreal Canadiens personnel isn't good enough right now, and the injuries have exacerbated that, and that's just where they find themselves. I think sometimes you just got to deal with reality. Now, if I'm Kent Hughes, I'm saying, okay, what are we doing? What's our plan? How do we simplify things? We know we have injuries, and these are all things that coaches have to work through. So, we can talk about adding somebody, but yeah, if it helps, and Marty will be open-minded to it, I know that, but at the same time, their personnel isn't good enough. They have too many players that are asked to do much more than their capabilities allow at this point in time. And so when the situation in a game occurs where they're overextended, that's where they have real problems. And John Cooper, I'll just use John Cooper. John Cooper's sitting there before the game thinking, okay, wait till this happens. I'll be ready because I got the guys that can take advantage of it. That's when the coaches are licking their chops right now on the opposing bench because they know they have a mismatch. Here's the other thing, Tony. Marty St. Louis trying to avoid that mismatch, but it becomes really hard to do when you're short in too many areas.
All right. Okay. So, do you think calling up and only they know? I think calling up Jacob Fowler 30 games into the season was on their bingo card. Do you think it was part of the plan? No,
I don't think so at all. But, I like to use the Lou Lamoriello line. Lou Lamoriello says you have to have a plan. It's got to be 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, but you better be ready to change it in 5 minutes. And nobody in Montreal is going, well, geez, yeah, we're going to see Jacob here in 30 games, unless they know something that nobody else does. Sam Montembeault had a good year last year. They're high on Jacob Dobish, but the reality of the situation for Montreal is now they had their other choice is, can we go trade for somebody? But, the immediacy of the situation demands that you look close. Jacob. Jacob's not going to be daunted by coming and playing for the Montreal Canadiens. He's got a strong technical base. He's got a great athletic base. His mind. Now, I know he's coming to the NHL. That's not easy. Don't get me wrong. But for the Montreal Canadiens, this is something that had to happen right now. Because here's the other problem, Tony. Mm-hmm. You start to lose. The players on the team now are starting to go, well, geez, you know what? Like, this is like their spirits are dampened. And so for Montreal to say, okay, we're going to bring in Jacob. They've all heard about Jacob. They know Jacob's really promising. But now you call him in, and you're trying to lift the spirits of the team, going, okay, we have a chance here. And the other hand of that is also, okay, we got a rookie goaltender in here. You guys are going to have to be really sharp defensively.
You know what? I read one of Arpin Basso's articles earlier this morning, The Athletic, New York Times, and he brought up it's a good one, and I think it was a quote from Mike Tyson in 1987, leading up to a fight versus Tyrell Biggs, when the reporter asked him if he was worried about Tyrell Biggs' fight plan. And he said something to the effect of, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face or till they get punched in the mouth, right? And looks like that's what happened with the Canadiens, right? They got punched in the face or punched in the mouth with the performances of Dobish and Montembeault. Marty St. Louis earlier today tried to tell members of the media that, hey, coming out of camp, we said that we wanted to see Fowler on a couple of occasions to see where he was at with his development, to see what he can do, to bring him up, to make him hang out with the pros, to make him travel with the pros. We knew that the schedule was going to be condensed. We had to find an opportunity. This was the opportunity. You're right, Craig. Let's put the cards on the table. Jacob Fowler was called up because it's weeks, if not months now. The Montreal Canadiens goalies just can't stop anything, and their confidence is rock bottom.
And Marty can explain it any way he wants. He's not fooling anybody. He's not fooling the players. He's not trying to fool himself. It's a narrative. To just come out and say, hey, we need better goaltending. Like, I'll use a line that Scotty Bowman goes, it's no good. It's no good.
Yeah. A good one. All right. Okay. Let's so now let's hear from Marty, okay? Because, he was asked about if the call-ups are a message from Kent Hughes.
Je pense pas que c'est un message du DG, là, tu sais, c'est des décisions qu'on prend comme une organisation. C'est pas Kent qui arrive puis qui fait tout ça, là, tu sais, c'est une décision d'organisation. Puis, tu sais, on a beaucoup de bons jeunes joueurs là en bas, tu sais, puis une couple de semaines, on a rappelé Adam Engstrom. On voulait, tu sais, je trouvais qu'il méritait. On voulait savoir qu'est-ce qu'il avait l'air, aussi sa progression et tout. Fait que, tu sais, c'est une cédule assez chargée. Puis, on le savait à un point qu'on voulait voir Fowler, voir où c'est qu'il était dans son développement et tout, tu sais. Fait que, il vient sur le voyage, puis on va voir s'il va jouer. Mais c'est pas... moi, je vois pas ça comme on envoie un message. C'est qu'on est une organisation qui a beaucoup de bons jeunes joueurs, puis on essaie de voir où c'est qu'ils sont. Puis nous autres, on continue dans notre processus de bâtir une équipe de championnat. Ça fait partie d'une étape ici, tu sais. C'est un peu de ça.
So Marty St. says, listen, he says, it's not a message from Kent. He says, we have a lot of good young players within the organization. We called up Adam Engstrom a couple of weeks ago to see where he was at. We're doing the same thing. We're doing it with Fowler as well. He says, this is all part of the process of putting together a team that will one day compete or win a championship. And these are one of those steps. But my question to you, a couple of weeks ago, I was against calling up Fowler because I said the Canadiens are playing terrible in front of their goaltenders. The last thing I want Fowler to face here is having a team in front of him that's not going to protect them and play terrible hockey in front of him. A couple of weeks later, I understand the Canadiens' predicament. They have to do something. It's kind of like the patient is bleeding. You just can't make him bleed to death, right? You have to try and stop the bleeding. Having said that, the concern that I have, if any, is that there's a big sector of the fan base right now that are viewing Jacob Fowler as the savior, as the guy who's going to save the season, as the guy who's going to turn the Canadian season around, as the guy who's going to stop the bleeding, as the guy who's going to make sure that the Canadiens make the playoffs. Let's hear Marty St. on Fowler being the savior.
Pas assez constant en avant de nos gardiens présentement. T'sais, on a des bons moments, mais de constance de match par match, puis constance durant le match, que faut aller chercher ça pour nos goalers. Ça, c'est sûr, mais non, Fowler, il n'arrive pas comme un sauveur, là. Notre game collective en avant de nos gardiens devrait nous mettre dans des bien meilleures situations que récemment. On le fait passer constamment. Des fois, c'est 3-4 minutes, des fois, c'est 35 secondes. Puis c'est une ligne fine à gagner puis perdre dans ce ligue-là.
And there you have it. So, you know what he says? Look, he's not a savior. The fact of the matter is we don't play good enough in front of our goalies with consistency. Sometimes we're good. Sometimes we're bad. We're up, we're down, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. We need to have some consistency in our play and play much better in front of our goaltender. Craig Button, is it possible? I mean, a lot's been talked about the man-to-man hybrid system here in Montreal. We saw a picture last night where on the Kucherov goal, Brandon Hagel was alone next to Jakob Dobish within 2 feet of the net. Nikita Kucherov was all alone on the right-hand side with his left-handed shot to go for the one-timer. 4 players were trying to block Crozier's inoffensive shot or thought that he was going to shoot from just inside the blue line. Jaden Struble was out in no man's land. A lot's been talked about the system, but coaches will tell you that right now in the National Hockey League, some play man-to-man, some play hybrid, some play zone. Is it possible the hybrid the Canadiens are playing, that because of the injuries, and their inexperience, they don't have the tools for it right now?
Absolutely, Tony. I think that's really well said. And again, every coach has a system of team play, right? But if your system of team play is one that's not functioning very well or at a very high rate, you better look at what you can do differently to get a better system into place. Too many coaches, in my view, and this is just a general comment, that they lean on we have a system, they got to play the system, they got to play the structure. Well, maybe your structure's no good. Maybe your system's no good. So what ends up happening when you get players extended? So again, I'm just going to use an example of a player that has to go up against a top offensive player, right? So you just outlined it a little bit, right? So you got Kucherov, Hagel, Point, all those guys out on the ice. Who does Montreal have out on the ice? And so now you're asking them to play a system where you're going, well, this is the way we play. Do you think the players go out and play a style of game that they're not asked to do or they're not practicing? No, that's not the case. And So you go out there and you're not capable of doing it. Part of the hybrid system is being able to think really quick. It's being able to react really quick. Well, you don't think the offensive teams are reacting really quick? You don't think they're not looking at how to break you down? So what I would say when your defensive system is struggling, like the Montreal Canadiens system is, you better find a way to simplify it and make it easier for the players. And again, that's part of coaching, just saying, okay, we're going to do this one thing and this second thing, and that's all we're going to worry about. And I think that's where you try to say how your system can evolve. You got players trying to play a system that demands too much of them, just like the skill part of it demands too much of them. Good luck. You're going to have all kinds of problems. And that's coaching. Coaching now better recognize that.
The youth of the team, the fact they're the youngest team in the National Hockey League. Is that, does that, in your opinion, have anything to do with the fact that they struggle with consistency, that they play the way they play? Yes or no? And by the way, Marty St. was asked about it, but I'd love to have your opinion before we hear from the coach.
What's the most consistent thing with youth? It's inconsistency. Does it surprise me with a young team that you have inconsistency? Not at all. Is it something that you're trying to smooth out and trying to get those good stretches of play longer and try to eliminate those poor stretches? Absolutely, you're trying to do that. But the simple answer is yes, that is going to be a factor, which leads me back to what I just said. So make it simpler, not harder for them.
Okay, let's hear Marty St. Louis on if youth is a factor in all this.
Team to start the season?
You were, yeah.
Okay. 10-3-2?
Yeah.
Was our youth a concern then?
No, but it was.
So why is it now?
Well, I don't know. Ask Nick. Nick mentioned it himself last night twice.
Okay. I mean, it's 5 minutes after a game. Probably emotional and involved. I don't think Nick, if you ask Nick the question today, and you can ask him, you know, and sometimes that's just the answers that come out. But for me, like, you have two choices. Make progress or make excuses. And you can't do both.
Marty,
I'm going to choose progress.
You consider that an excuse? Talk about youth?
I will never use our youth as an excuse. Never. I'm not.
And there you have it. Marty's not using it as an excuse. He says we're the same age that we were when we got off to a start of 10-3-2, Craig Budden. And I guess as a coach, he has to say that, because if he says, yeah, our youth is the reason why we're having the hiccups and our defensive zone coverage is what it is, you're giving everyone an out, are you not?
I don't know if that's the case. I mean, for my own, Marty said, like, we can make excuses or we can make progress. I think with youth, you're trying to make the progress. I think that the thing is recognizing how do you make progress with a young team. I mean, at the beginning of the season, and Marty knows this better than anybody, the beginning of the season, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier for younger players. Why do we see rookies come into the league and, they hold their head above water for the first 10 games? And then at game 20, you're going, oh, boy, it's getting a little bit harder. And by game 30, it's like, whoa, they're taking on water. Because that's the demands of the National Hockey League. That's the demands that young players are going to go through. So Marty's not going to make excuses. But at the end of it all, to make progress, you have to recognize reality. I'm going to keep going back to what I just said. So when you have players that are a little bit younger, you don't want to complicate things for them. When things aren't going well, you don't want to complicate things for them. And when you have players that are put into positions that aren't to the best of their capabilities, you want to simplify things for them. How do you make progress? Yes, you got to teach. Yes, you got to make sure that the players are feeling good about themselves. And when I use good about, it's about being confident. But the bottom line is youth. It's not an excuse. It's a reality. And then you combine it with the injuries they've had, and then you start to look at where they have some real gaps in their lineup. Yeah, that's a problem. And so how do you find a way to get through it? Marty's going to look for solutions, as I said, whether it be in the defensive zone, whether it be offensively, how do you get ready? And that's what you got to do. And if you don't do that, then you're gonna hope that things turn around. Marty's not a hoper.
All right, okay. Once again, a lot of the talk was on Jacob Fowler that was there. Marty St. Louis, by the way, said, listen, he didn't want to guarantee that he would get a start. They obviously didn't bring him up for no reason, Craig Budden. Let's be honest. They play 3 games in the next 4 nights. There's travel included in all of that. Jacob Dobish looked like the odd man out today in practice. There was more emphasis on Fowler and on Samuel Montembeault. They were seeing the pucks. Do you think Jacob Fowler is going to make his NHL debut tomorrow night in Pittsburgh?
Well, I'm not the one filling out the lineup, but if I was filling out the lineup, Jacob Fowler would be starting the game in Pittsburgh on Thursday night. I would tell him, hey, get ready. We need you in there. Let's go.
Let's hear from Owen Beck. If there's somebody who knows a lot about Jacob Fowler, it's his teammate with the Laval Rocket. Let's hear from Owen Beck.
I mean, he's been incredible for us. We're a confident team, and he's back there. So, I think he brings like a calming presence. I think his kind of his style of game is very relaxed. It's not overreactive and flying around. So, very positional, and I think that kind of brings a sense of calmness to the team as well.
Now, let's hear from Brendan Gallagher on what he knows about Jacob Fowler.
Sure, anyone. There's going to be some learning experiences along the road, but. He's had success every level he's played at, and obviously it's going to be tested again. But like anybody, we'll do what we can do to help him. And, certainly a very talented kid that deserves to be here. And when he gets his opportunity, I'd be lying if I say when I know that is. But if he's in the net tomorrow, we'll do what we can do to help him. And at some point, obviously, he's going to get in there.
All right, there you have it. At some point, he's going to get in there, and everyone talks about him as a calming influence.
Did you hear what Owen Beck said?
Yeah.
Owen Beck made the most important comment that could be made. We're confident when he's back there. The Montreal Canadiens team is not confident with Dobish or Montembeault back there right now. That's why Fowler's coming up, and that's why Fowler, in my opinion, if it's me, he's starting Thursday night. End of story.
Craig, is it important for you, and how important is it for a club to have one of your two netminders probably be a very, very experienced netminder in his 30s to help out a younger goaltender?
What I would say is again, we're back to the youth question. How do we help youth get better? How do we help youth be consistent, right? Brendan Gallagher, who's been through it, he just talked about, we're going to try to do everything we can, like anybody else. He's young, he's going to be learning, right? So when you have somebody that a goaltender can turn to, I think it's good. It should be an advantage. Somebody that can just say, hey, listen, don't worry about that. A couple of years ago in Vegas, they brought in Jonathan Quick. Now, they basically knew at that point in time, Jonathan Quick wasn't going to get playing time, but they wanted Jonathan Quick around their goaltenders just to provide like that experience. Hey, here's where we're at. And so they end up, and they had to go through three goaltenders that year, if you recall. I mean, Logan Thompson, Laurent Brossois, and then Aiden Hill ultimately took over the net to help them win the cup. But having Jonathan Quick around and, talking to Kelly McCrimmon, talking to people that were in the organization, they said it was really, really important. So when you have somebody that's young or inexperienced in those situations, having somebody that's been through it, having somebody that can help you is really good. Listen, when a surgeon first operates on somebody, he's got somebody right by his side. I don't care how talented the surgeon is. The surgeon isn't going in there by himself. You need some help. You need some aid. And it's no different for a goaltender.
Lineup changes today at practice for the Montreal Canadiens. If we can bring up the lines. Craig, it was a week ago that we talked about the fact that Juraj Slafkovsky would be back on the number one line with Suzuki and Caulfield. And I talked about the motion to go down to the second line with Kapanen and Demidov. And you said something to the effect of, Tony, it's not a demotion. He went down there to take charge of the line, and he did. That'll make him better. 1 week later, he's back on that line. I guess you don't have a problem with it?
I have zero problem with it. I have zero problem with Kapanen or Demidov. And I think, Nick and Cole are so good. And Zach showed some really good flashes. Like I think for Zach, he's got to play in the top part of your forward group and play with those types of, but he's got to pull his weight there. And I think that is something that's important for Zach to go and do. It'll be important for the Montreal Canadiens. But to me, again, when Uri has reached this point in his career, and we're talking about a young guy, and he can do the things that he's doing and to help other young players. Oh, yeah, here we go. Back to youth, Kapanen and Demidov. So if you ask Marty, what's he trying to do? He's trying to get a little experience there to help the two young kids, just like Slafkovsky was helped. So you know what? Youth is a factor. Youth is not an excuse, but you got to understand it and then manage it.
Craig Button, brilliant as always. Safe travels, my friend.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much. There you have it, Craig Button of TSN. It's now time for the man they call the snake. In French, they call him le serpent. I call him le serpent.
Simone Snake Boisvert. Presented by Gibeau Orange Julep.
Oh, Montreal, you know the spot. The giant orange glowing over the carry since 1932. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. At Gibeau Orange Julep, it's all about the legendary orange drink and classic casse-croûte favorites. Open every day until late. You can swing by after the games, or you can order online to your door now on Uber Eats. Try their new hit item, the double smash cheeseburger. It is. Simon the Snake Boisvert, how are you?
Doing pretty fine, Tony. How about you?
Very, very good. Marty St. Louis says, no, there's no messages in the call-ups last night. By the way, we have to talk about it. Earlier this morning, Luc Gelina reported that based on his information, Jake Evans has been nursing a foot injury since the 20th of November, and that Evans was to meet with a doctor in Philadelphia. The Canadiens later announced that Jake Evans will miss the game in Pittsburgh due to personal reasons, and said that Evans will meet up with the team in New York versus the Rangers. Luc Gelina has been on the beat for a very, very long time. Luc Gelina says that Jake Evans has a foot injury and he's going to meet with the doctors in Pittsburgh or in Philadelphia, pardon me. I believe him. Wondering why the Canadiens said he's out, and maybe a foot injury is a personal reason. But anyway, doesn't matter. Owen Beck will take Jake Evans' spot in the lineup. Adam Engstrom, we'll see if he's going to play tomorrow night and whose spot he's going to take in the lineup. And Marty St. Louis did not want to confirm that Jacob Fowler would get the start in goal. Some don't like the fact that he didn't confirm him. I believe he knows if Jacob Fowler is going to play. I believe Jacob Fowler will play tomorrow night in Pittsburgh, but I don't blame Marty St. Louis for not saying who his starting goaltender is going to be, because I just think he doesn't want to have the Pittsburgh Penguins do too much digging on Jacob Fowler so they can come up with a scouting report. Maybe you have another answer. Your thoughts?
Well, I think just the fact that he was called up, the Pittsburgh Penguins coaches are getting scouting reports on the guy. I
hear you.
Because whether he plays or not, I mean, you always have to prefer for any of the 2 or 3 goalies,
of course,
that you're going to face. So I think I don't know why they're not saying. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. But look, I think Fowler is starting.
Craig Button disagrees. Well, Marty St. Louis said that they knew that they were going to give Fowler a look, and this is not a message by any means. And Craig Bunn and I are of the same opinion that the Canadiens goaltending right now is just not stopping anything. They had to do something to stop the bleeding, and that's why they brought up Jacob Fowler. Marty St. Louis says, hey, we knew we were going to bring him up at some point to get a look at him, to see where he is with his development. We knew because of the condensed schedule that it would have to happen at some point, so why not now? Marty St. Louis clearly wanted to spare his goalies in front of the media earlier this morning.
Yeah, and my question is, why didn't they bring up Kakkonen? Because he's a guy who's played in the NHL before. So there's probably a reason why they want to see Fowler. I don't know for how long they're going to keep him around. I think it's probably based on his performance. But also, you don't want to keep 3 goalies around either. So maybe they only have a plan to have him play a couple of games and then send him back to Laval, whatever happens. Or he takes over the net forever. You never know.
I have an opinion on this. You asked a question. I have an opinion on it. Mm-hmm. Number one, Jacob Fowler obviously does not require waivers, so he can go back, right?
Yeah.
Kaapo Kakkonen is waiver eligible, correct? Mm-hmm. So if he would get called up, you'd have to go through waivers, yes, and you have the chance of losing a goaltender in the organization. That's number one. Number two. I would say that, is it possible that they think that if they call up Kakkonen, that instead of getting a different performance than they're getting from Montembeault and Dobish, they probably get more of the same? But if they call up Fowler has the potential to to give the Canadiens exactly what they need. A big performance.
I think it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Because if Fowler gives them a big performance, and let's say at some point they send him back to Laval, you can always say, well, it was part of the development plan. We give him a few games, like we said, because of the schedule, blah, blah, blah. If Kakkonen plays well, then you're really stuck, because if you send him back to Laval, he might be claimed. I mean, some teams are looking for goalies right now. Otherwise, what do? You have 3 goalies, or you send back Jacob Fowler because he's not waiver eligible. So I think it would have been a hot potato maybe to have Kakkonen for that reason. Whereas Fowler, they can always send him back and just say, well, he's young. He has to continue his development in the American Hockey League.
Yeah. What do you make of the new lines? Zach Bolduc is up on the number 1 line again. I don't have a problem with it, but the problem that I have is I'm not so sure that it kind of makes sense to be on a 3rd line most of the season, then go down to a 4th line, then go up to a 1st line, then spend a couple of weeks there to go back down for another week on the 4th line, and now to get promoted back on the 1st line when you're on the 4th line to begin with. I'm not so sure I understand. Like, I understand wanting to put Souvlaki on the 2nd line because you probably liked what he brought with Kapanen and Demidov. I don't understand, like, Bolduc is either a 1st line or a 4th. It doesn't usually work that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We've seen this before, but usually it doesn't. I think when you have a new line or a new player or a recently acquired player that you want to integrate to a team, I think it's good to have a real trial on a given line, not just 2 games and then send it back to the 4th line and then 3rd line and all this yo-yo. I don't like playing yo-yo with players. I think the Habs right now, yes, they are fighting for the playoffs. I do understand they want to put the best lineup out there, but they're not playing very well in general, over the last month or so, ever since they had that pretty good start in October.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to see what they have in Bolduc, why don't they stick him with 2 guys, whoever they are, it could be Suzuki and Caulfield, and give him a 10-15 game trial on that line instead of just like going back and forth with the guy. I mean, I know lines are meant to be changed, and there's injuries and there's performance-related issues that make a coach change his lines. But right now, the Habs, they're still building that team. They're not a contender. So it's good to have to try things. And if they're going to try Bolduc on the 1st line and Souvlaki with Demidov, then why don't they just do it? Let's say, I don't know. Today is what, December 10th? Why don't they just do it at least till the end of the year?
Yeah. I hear you. Now, with Souvlaki on that 2nd line, you like him there?
Yeah. I like him with Demidov.
I like him with Demidov too.
Yeah.
They have something together.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
And I know he's important for Caulfield and Suzuki because he's a big guy and the other 2 are not that big or tall. But although Suzuki is stocky, I mean, he's not easy to play against. But if there's chemistry between 2 guys, why not try them together for a while and see if they can create something? And then you have 2 very good lines at some point. I mean, in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Because other players are coming in, Zarovsky, Hage. So you never know, maybe a trade. So, Slav and Demidov, let's give it a shot.
Fowler. Would you have hesitated bringing him up thinking that there could be a risk of burning him because of playing in front of a team that's not playing very good hockey? Mind you, so many good goaltenders in the past started their NHL careers even before Jacob Fowler, obviously. Roberto Luongo, Marty Brodeur, Patrick Roy, Marc-Andre Fleury. The list goes on and on. Is he ready for prime time, in your opinion?
Yeah, it was tough for Fleury at first because he was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And then, went back to junior hockey, and it was hard because the Penguins were like the worst team in the league. So no, I'm not worried because I think Jacob Fowler can take it, and it's not something that will destroy his confidence. Because look, it depends on the player, it depends on the situation. Older viewers might remember this. The Nordiques were pretty bad in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And they had this goalie prospect named Stéphane Fiset. Mm-hmm. And he was the top goalie in the queue, and he was a top goalie prospect in the NHL. And there was one game, I'm not comparing the Nordiques to the Habs right now because the Nordiques were terrible. But there was a game where they were leading 8-3 late in the third period. The game finished 8-8. And it seems like Fiset's confidence was like broken for quite a few years because of that game. Mm-hmm. So these things happen. But no, look, the Habs are not Nordiques from 1990, and I don't think Fowler's confidence is going to be destroyed if he gives up 4 goals and 4 or 5 goals tomorrow. Not worried.
For a team that's looking for energy, for a team that's looking for a player who can change the momentum of a hockey game, for a team that's looking for a player that can go around and hit people and have it be contagious with the others, should they have brought up Samuel Blais?
Yeah, why not? Why not? He's a tough guy. He has NHL experience. He's playing well in Laval. Yeah, why not? I mean, now is the time to just bring up guys and see what happens, but not just for 2 games. That's my point.
Yeah.
You want to bring up guys, you bring up Owen Beck, have him play, unless it's just an emergency recall, because of Evan's injury. But at some point, they're going to have to find out if guys like Owen Beck is an NHL player who could play like 300-400 games.
Let's do the same exercise now with Adam Engstrom, who comes with a real good development behind him. Here's a young defenseman, 22 years old, just turned a couple of weeks ago, who has a couple of pro seasons under his belt in Sweden, where he played about 120 games, playoffs included. In the last couple of seasons in Laval, he played just under 100 games, playoffs included. Is Adam Engstrom ready for prime time, in your opinion? If so, would you put him in tomorrow night, and who would you put him with?
I don't know who I would play him with, but one thing is sure, I would give him at least, a good 12 minutes per game at first, a good 12 minutes. And I think Engstrom, in my opinion, is ready for the NHL right now. And unless he plays very, very, unless he doesn't play well, you bring him up for good. I think he's ready.
He was rotating with Jaden Struble alongside Lane Hudson earlier today.
Okay, well, that's good. And honestly, to me, he should replace Struble in the lineup on a regular basis very, very soon. I've never been crazy about Struble, but more so, I think that Engstrom is an upgrade. You're always looking for upgrades in your lineup. So I think Adam Engstrom should be in the NHL until the end of the year.
Snake, you're someone who has studied rebuilds over I don't know how many years. The Canadiens enter year 4 of their rebuild. Once again, Jeff Gordon was hired just over 4 years ago. In about a month or so, it'll be 4 years since Kent Hughes was hired. In a couple of months from now, it'll be 4 years since Marty St. was hired. Here's a team that surprised a lot of people by making the playoffs after 3.5 years into a rebuild. What's the next step?
I think the next step is to see what the next wave of prospects can give them. And there are 4 major elements: Fowler, Reinbacher, Michael Hage, and Alex Zarovsky. Zarovsky obviously is not going to be here before the fall of 2027. Fowler, this could be the start of his career tomorrow. Who knows? Probably next year, I would say for sure. Reinbacher, I think the way he's playing now, I think he can start being a regular next year in the NHL. Michael Hage, we'll see, but he's been good. But all these guys are going to be rookies at first. So I would say that what you expect from them next year Fowler, Runbacker, and Hage is to give them their rookie year. Other guys like Demidov will be in his second season. So next year, I don't know about the playoffs because it's always very hard to predict. But you're hoping that next year they're going to be more competitive in the sense that you won't have these 8-1, 6-1, 5-1 games as often as they happen this year. That's what I would be looking for. And the year after, 27-28, then you're looking at a team that you would expect to go far in the playoffs, maybe even the conference finals, I would say. Because I think at some point the Habs, when they jump, they're going to jump very quickly, the way Anaheim did this year.
I hear you. We look forward to it, right? This is going to be, I think, tomorrow night, we're going to have some answers to some questions. Notably, if some of these young players play, like you talked about, like Jacob Fowler, Owen Beck, and Adam Engstrom, this is going to be an opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens to see what these players can do, and it'll probably influence other decisions later on down the line. It's not going to be easy. I'm in Pittsburgh tomorrow night, in New York at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night versus the Rangers, and then back to Montreal right after the game when the Canadiens host Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers Sunday night. Snake Boisvert, thank you very much for joining us on the Sick Podcast, brought to you in part by Gyro Orange Julep once again. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
It was a pleasure, Tony. Bye-bye.
Thank you. There you have it. Simon Snake Boisvert, along with Shane Gaumont, the co-host, the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. A couple of times per week, they talk about prospects in the Montreal Canadiens organization and prospects throughout the entire National Hockey League. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Of course, Energy Transportation Group is one. Playground is another. Betway is another. Bittt Tibi is another. Craig Button brought to you by Souvlaki Authentique, and Snake Boisvert brought to you by Gyro Orange Julep. For Shane Gaumont at Master Control, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow night, right after the Canadiens and the Penguins, for your number one Habs post-game show in the world. Thank you for watching, and thank you for support. Love you all. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. Have a great night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. TB. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.